In the center of Las Vegas, under the dazzling glow of the MGM Grand, an experienced martial artist waited silently while the audience cheered wildly for Floyd Mayweather. What started as a fundraising occasion evolved into a dare, after the unbeaten fighter ridiculed Chuck Norris for being sluggish and provoked him to enter the arena. Chuck Norris was far from an ordinary onlooker. Over 5 decades, he had excelled as a global title holder in combat, a soldier-honed expert in martial arts, and a renowned figure celebrated for overcoming unbeatable challenges to create myths. When Mayweather's jeers invited embarrassment, he didn't realize he was up against someone who had dedicated years to honing restraint, perfect rhythm, and lethal accuracy. Norris's composed entry into the ring sparked a clash that would defy predictions and resonate well past the philanthropic platform. What originated as a display soon turned into an example of enduring expertise. The combat scene would change forever once a serene individual demonstrated that esteem isn't something to belittle, it has to be gained. Before we continue, share your location with us. And if this tale resonates with you, be certain to follow our channel since I've prepared an exceptional surprise for tomorrow. A massive roar filled the MGM Grand Garden Arena in Las Vegas, overpowering even the sparkling shower of illumination descending from overhead. All chairs were occupied, every passageway crammed with people leaning in, each gaze fixed on the raised boxing platform in the middle. Flashes from cameras burst like storms, enveloping the venue in rhythmic pulses of light. Ladies and gentlemen, the host's announcement echoed via the sound system bouncing against the surfaces. Welcome to the Fight for Hope philanthropic boxing gathering. Fresh applause surged across the audience as beams of light started swirling around the entry passage. The atmosphere inside was charged, nearly instinctive. This wasn't merely a standard boxing affair. This was a show, amusement stardom fully showcased. Presenting first. The host halted for effect while the initial rhythms of Money by Cardi B blasted through the audio. The individual requiring no formal presentation, holding an impeccable career tally of 50 victories, no defeats. The passage gate swung wide, unveiling Floyd "Money" Mayweather, wrapped in a sparkling cloak that seized every ray and scattered it into brilliant patterns. His grin shone nearly as intensely as the gems decorating his throat and arms. The supreme protective boxer ever, Floyd "Money" Mayweather. Mayweather advanced confidently. A group of at least 20 followers lagged behind, coaches, guards, stars, models, a whole network centered on his magnetic appeal. He didn't just proceed, he put on a performance, stopping to deliver phantom strikes toward the lenses, chuckling as supporters yelled his name, hurling autographed mitts to the fans. Observe that arrival, a broadcaster commented via his microphone. Mayweather doesn't merely arrive at a venue, he claims it. Floyd ascended into the ring, limbs lifted, rotating gradually to absorb the praise from every direction. He sprang on his toes, practicing strikes for the recordings, ensuring all broadcasts captured his jewel-studded TBE mouth protector, the best ever. This evening's philanthropic display has collected more than $4 million for pediatric facilities nationwide. The host went on while Mayweather engaged the spectators, and our famous guests and competitors have appeared in large numbers to back the initiative. The lens swept over the prime seating, spotlighting the notable attendees, performers, artists, sports figures, each one eliciting shouts from various parts of the crowd. Yet one person drew a slightly extended focus from the cameras, one whose attendance appeared somewhat mismatched amid the splendor and excitement surrounding him. Chuck Norris remained seated quietly, clad in a plain black collared top and pants. No followers encircled him. No protection team lingered close. His stance was at ease yet upright, palms placed comfortably on his legs. Unlike the stars next to him who gestured and beamed when spotted by the camera, Norris simply inclined his head once, recognizing the focus without dramatizing it. And we're privileged to host this evening. The martial arts pioneer and action movie star Chuck Norris, the host proclaimed. A unique applause emerged from the audience, more deferential than wild. Norris lifted his arm shortly in response, then resumed his calm position. Gaze directed at the ring with a steady, evaluative look. Nearby Norris, James "Lights Out" Tony, a retired title holder now with silvering hair, bent toward his associate, tones scarcely heard over the noise. Chuck stays the same, huh? 2 decades since our last meeting. Still positions himself identically. Certain individuals have no reason to alter, his associate answered. Mayweather's display rival was revealed, a promising but lesser-known younger fighter. Chosen to offer amusement without danger, the bout itself served as a presentation instead of a test. 3 segments of Mayweather's distinctive method: flawless guarding, calculated hits dictating the rhythm with expert steps. He didn't simply surpass his rival. He played around with him, generating chances to perform for the spectators. During breaks, Mayweather's attention wandered to the prime seats, pausing on Norris. A thought crossed his features, an assessment, an awareness of possibility. He murmured to his assistant, who looked at Norris, then returned to Mayweather with lifted brows. The final segment concluded with Mayweather hardly winded, his rival drained and grateful for the end. They hugged quickly, the novice fighter evidently proud despite the uneven match. While cheers echoed in the venue, Tony poked his associate once more. Floyd has that expression. Which one? The kind indicating he's turning this into more than a benefit. The seasoned competitor was accurate. For even as the ring host started appreciating the audience's contributions, Mayweather was signaling for the mic, his look changing from content winner to clever entertainer. And Chuck Norris, still positioned serenely in the prime area, observed the development with a gaze familiar with such instances. The instant when someone's craving for notice overrode sound reasoning. Wait a second. Mayweather's words interrupted the host's final comments as he grabbed the mic. We're not finished. The audience, detecting impromptu tension, quieted in expectation. Mayweather walked the ring with relaxed command, the beams tracking his actions. To start, appreciate everyone for attending and aiding the youth, he commenced, wiping his forehead with a TBE-marked cloth, despite minimal perspiration. That's the main point, correct? The youth. Cheers spread across the venue. Mayweather grinned, agreeing as if guiding the audience's reply personally. But since we're gathered, he proceeded, his manner altering faintly, I need to address an idea that's lingered in my thoughts, an aspect regarding honor in fighting disciplines. The experienced figures near the ring traded looks. James Toney shifted ahead, identifying the deliberate change in Mayweather's behavior. You realize numerous icons are present tonight. Mayweather motioned widely, noting the distinguished visitors, folks who laid the foundation, and I'm focused on offering praise while individuals can appreciate it. Understand me? Additional cheers, though now mixed with interest. But honor exists. Then facts do too. His tone grew firmer a bit. And facts show various periods bring varying standards. What succeeded previously? He gestured negatively. Wouldn't survive currently. The audience whispered, detecting the move from festivity to dispute. I noticed Chuck Norris in the front. Mayweather indicated straight at Norris, who stayed motionless, face unaltered. Texas Ranger, correct? Film action hero. Martial arts winner from, say, the 60s or 70s. Lenses turned to record Norris's reply, but discovered only steady alertness. No sign of insult or worry. No offense, Chuck. Truly, I viewed your films as a kid, but this here. Mayweather pointed to the platform under him. This is another realm. Velocity, method, protective abilities not conceived then. The crowd's responses divided clearly, some supporting Mayweather's audacity, others uneasy with his path. Observe, that's the issue with icons, Mayweather went on, drawing from the varied feedback. Folks begin accepting the tales. Begin assuming a roundhouse from the 70s could compete with TBE in 2025. He chuckled, encouraging the audience to participate. Some joined, but others observed Norris, who remained stationary, face unchanged, merely watching Mayweather with identical, steady focus. I'm certain in your era you were impressive, Chuck. Mayweather's tone gained a condescending note. But you're what, 85? Too aged, too delayed. The host advanced, trying to restore order. Floyd, this event focuses on philanthropy, and no, this is instructive. Mayweather interrupted seamlessly. Youth must grasp the gap between films and actuality, between traditional ways and advancement. He indicated Norris once more pointedly. No insult, but much of the online claims about you are humor, guy. Web jokes. Chuck Norris details. He imitated quotes with his hands. Chuck Norris avoids push-ups. He shifts the planet downward. Amusing, but not actual. Scattered chuckles passed through the crowd, but they were limited and awkward. Most attention now centered on Norris, who showed no reaction, no trace of feeling. Beside him, Tony whispered quietly. He lacks awareness of his actions. Mayweather, may be disturbed by Norris's absence of response, intensified. Here's an idea, Chuck. As this benefits philanthropy, why not join me? Display what remains in I'll secure one arm rearward for equity." Given the years apart, gasps circulated the venue. The host advanced once more insistently. "Floyd, that's outside the schedule." "The schedule adjusted," Mayweather responded, then spoke to the audience. "You all desire to view it, yes? The icon personally. Or is he too elderly now, too delicate to rise?" The crowd's reply was disordered. Some jeering, some applauding. But within the clamor, a rhythm started from scattered areas of the venue, strengthening steadily with repetition. Chuck, chuck, chuck. The rhythm expanded rapidly until it consumed the venue, thousands uniting in a steady call. Yet Norris stayed unmoved, hadn't risen, hadn't signaled he'd registered the provocation. "Your thoughts, veteran?" Mayweather urged, words piercing the rhythm. "Single segment for the youth. Prove if the icon is genuine or merely past." The audience's rhythm grew stronger, the noise rising toward the roof. Devices lifted across the venue. No one wishing to overlook the potential next step. Mayweather, absorbing the vibe, started springing once more, practicing strikes with amplified slowness. "Or is bedtime past, Chuck? Require heading home for the morning meal deal?" Tony gestured negatively. "Floyd's committing an error. A major one." Gradually, purposefully, Chuck Norris unfolded his legs. He set both palms on his knees, the action so regulated it appeared nearly reflective. The audience's level fell immediately, as if adjusted by a control. Mayweather halted mid-spring. Focus locked on the front area with deliberate accuracy. Norris rose. No drama, no display of rage or conceit. Simply the smooth, efficient action of a person who'd refined bodily command over years. He shed his black-collared top, exposing a basic gray shirt that barely concealed his still notably sculpted build, despite his years. Quiet descended over the venue, a shared pause in breathing. Norris gazed up at Mayweather with direct, firm eyes, his face neither furious nor daunted, just attentive, concentrated and fully serene. Mayweather's grin wavered slightly before reappearing, wider and more strained. "Well, observe that. The icon will attempt it." He addressed the audience. "Create noise for Chuck Norris, everyone. Let's discover what the elder retains." But the crowd's feedback wasn't as Mayweather predicted. Rather than derisive chuckles, the quiet lingered briefly before bursting into massive cheers, deferential, expectant, vibrant, with the feeling they observed a landmark event. As Norris proceeded steadily toward the ring access, space opened ahead, as if by silent directive. Protection staff traded unsure looks, obviously not ready for this turn, but none intervened. This wasn't covered in instructions. One guard whispered into his device. "Hold position, the answer arrived, allow it." The experienced competitor, Tony, settled back, a perceptive grin forming. "Floyd believes he provoked an elder," he told his associate, "but he provoked a natural power, and he's unaware." The ring access groaned lightly under Chuck Norris's calculated steps. No rush, no doubt, just intentional, attentive motion. Each advance exact, like all about him. The steel hummed below his feet, the noise hardly noticeable under the venue's charged silence. But to Norris it noted distinctly. Another element of awareness to absorb, to integrate, to command. Protection staff bordered the route, their faces blending doubt and admiration. None acted to block him. Their devices buzzed with pressing inquiries from leaders, but they stayed immobile, detecting they observed an event surpassing guidelines and methods. One youthful guard, around 25, instinctively corrected his stance as Norris went by, reacting to the senior's aura on a basic level past deliberate choice. "Has this been approved?" A protection leader murmured urgently into his device, observing Norris's steady nearness to the ring. The response returned swift but hesitant. "Simply permit it." Leadership states, "Permit it." The beams, which had swirled dynamically during Mayweather's provocation, casting shades that jumped and curled over the surface like animated forms now fixed into a constant, honoring shine. Even the lifeless setup of the venue appeared to detect the importance of the occasion, the meeting of realms set to occur. Within the ring, Mayweather sprang close to the core, still acting, still engaging the audience. He delivered phantom hits, seeking cheers with each amplified action, but his gaze acute, evaluative, expert. Despite the display never departed Norris, his grin stayed set. The identical high-value smile that had graced publications and event promotions. But an aspect of it had altered, a trace of doubt under the rehearsed assurance. A minor crack in the base of his total self-assurance. The prime areas had grown entirely silent now, the stillness extending outward like waves in calm liquid. Supporters who had shouted moments prior discovered themselves pausing breath. Devices elevated but briefly ignored in their grasp. Even the broadcasters had quieted, their expert commentary yielding to the uncommon awareness that certain occasions required no explanation. Norris arrived at the ring's foundation, halting for one pulse. His view scanned the surface, absorbing its scale, observing the yield of the floor under Mayweather's springing feet, listing numerous faint details most viewers would overlook. His features showed nothing. No worry, no thrill, no issue, not even resolve. Just complete attentive existence. Sharing and readying this account required considerable effort from us. So if you're appreciating it, join our channel. It signifies much to us. Now resuming the account, he climbed the metal access with identical measured rhythm. Not the careful ascent of a senior, but not the enthusiastic leap of one needing to demonstrate. Each action thrifty, intentional, ideal in its plainness. His respiration stayed constant. His pulse scarcely raised past normal. "Credit to you, Chuck," Mayweather shouted as Norris slipped under the cords with notable flexibility for his years. "You possess courage. Not all would advance thus." His words traveled over the silent venue, the phrases lingering in the atmosphere, the comment crafted to appear as esteem, but underneath lurked another element, a concluding chance for Norris to rethink, a final opportunity to evade what Mayweather yet thought would be disgrace. Norris offered no reply. His quietness wasn't impolite or rejecting. It just wasn't essential to answer. He positioned across from Mayweather, arms loose beside him, form even and rooted. Not the standard boxing pose, arms elevated, back-rounded, mass ahead, but something ancient, more basic. His full frame created one unified mechanism, prepared to act any way without signaling purpose. His view connected Mayweather straight. Not hostile, not provoking, concentrated, analyzing, steady. The view of a person who'd encountered battle in various shapes over years, who had no remaining need to validate to self or others, who had surpassed the requirement for outside confirmation ages past. "We ought to establish basic guidelines," Mayweather proceeded, words traveling over the venue with the habitual skill of someone used to holding focus. "As you're not precisely youthful anymore, perhaps only gentle touches. Avoid risking a fracture or such." Scattered, anxious chuckles spread through the audience, but they faded fast, engulfed by the odd weight that had covered the venue. The festive vibe of earlier had disappeared fully, substituted by something more basic, more honoring. Even those seeking show realized they observed something distinct entirely, something uncommon and meaningful. In the prime seating, James Toney shifted toward his associate, gaze fixed on the ring. "Observe his gaze," he whispered, tone hardly heard even by the adjacent person. "Whose? Mayweather's?" "No, Chuck's." Toney gestured slightly, a seasoned competitor identifying what many spectators couldn't. That's not the expression of a senior attempting to validate. That's the expression of an expert who never ceased practicing. And truly, Norris's view contained none of the frantic resolve of one grasping for former fame. None of the dread of defeat that frequently troubled aging winners. His gaze showed only total existence, full embrace of the instant as it existed, not assurance in success, something profounder, assurance in self irrespective of result. The formal ring host, a person who'd presented countless matches with steady expertise, entered via the cords, his typical poise, clearly disrupted by this unforeseen event. He glanced among the pair, then to the occasion planners near the ring, searching direction where none was. "Gentlemen, this isn't... we lack appropriate approval for this," sort of his skilled speech deserted him, phrases faltering as the unique character of the scenario overcame standards. "It's a display." Mayweather halted him fluidly, the skilled expert assuming command of the instant for philanthropy. No evaluators, no formal outcome, just providing what the audience desires. He addressed the spectators, limbs extended broadly. "Correct, Vegas?" A surge of endorsement replied, thousands discovering voice simultaneously. The noise impacted the roof, echoing via the venue's metal framework. A nearly tangible power of shared wish to witness the next development. The host appeared powerless among the pair. Then at the occasion planner near the ring, who provided only an accepting lift of shoulders. The instant had gained its own drive, past anyone's capacity to manage or guide. Well, if both involved agree, the host's doubt was evident. Expert senses conflicting with awareness of the unusual situation. "I'm fully agreeing," Mayweather confirmed with his characteristic certainty, then addressed Norris. His features altered faintly, true interest temporarily surpassing the acted elements of his character. How about you, Icon? Fine with the display segment? Merely for amusement? For the initial occasion since joining the ring, Chuck Norris voiced. His tone wasn't elevated, yet it traveled distinctly to each part of the silent venue. A proof of years of respiration management, to the command of his bodily tool that went past simple combat method. The manner was neither aggressive nor yielding, neither thrilled nor hesitant. It merely existed, distinct, straightforward, current. I'm present, he stated. 3 parts. No boasting, no provocation, no assurances or forecasts. Just a declaration of attendance that somehow held greater impact than Mayweather's full speech. The plainness struck the audience like a tangible energy. This wasn't someone requiring phrases to set his truth. The audience replied with fresh rhythm of chuck, chuck, chuck. But now it possessed a distinct character. Less insistent, more encouraging, nearly honoring. The audience's vibe had altered, reacting naturally to the serene honor Norris displayed, to the uncommon genuineness of one who simply embodied what they seemed, without pretense or act. The host, aware he'd forfeited command of the scenario, and that his standard role lacked place in the unfolding, swiftly left the ring with a concluding, unsure glance among the pair. His exit was scarcely observed. All attention centered on the improbable rivals at ring core. Mayweather signaled his assistant, who threw him new mitts, spotless white grants tailored for his grip. The identical type he'd employed during his unbeaten path. He seized them with habitual skill. The action so known it needed no aware effort. Require some chuck or intending bare fists? He laughed as if joking. The noise a touch too keen, a touch too elevated in the expectant quiet. Norris gestured negatively once. This works. His palms stayed bare, not in daring or carelessness, but in awareness of varied truths. His hands showed faint thickenings from routine practice. Surface toughened over years to convert the hands into tools more exact than any covered fist. Not tougher maybe, but more expressive. Able to deliver hits, stops, holds, and manages past boxing's narrower range of battle. Mayweather lifted his brows while fastening. The habitual action of donning mitts done with the relaxed proficiency of one who'd performed it countless times. As you wish. Don't claim I omitted offering. Near the ring, a compact man in a costly outfit neared the edge, addressing the occasion leader urgently, his tone low but strong expert worry clear in each part. This falls outside the coverage plan. We can't permit an unauthorized. The phrases emerged quickly, legal effects and responsibility issues racing his thoughts. The leader, a long time in combat events, stopped him with a motion that allowed no debate. Survey around, he stated plainly. Attempt halting it now and observe the result. Truly, the venue had altered fully. Thousands of devices elevated, capturing from all views. Online alerts already sounded across gadgets as updates circulated like electronic blaze. Mayweather against Norris occurring live, unplanned, unscripted, legacy forming in front of them. The shared intent of the audience had solidified around this instant. This sudden meeting of realms with an energy that no oversight worry or coverage plan could oppose. The event's formal timer, after getting a accepting signal from the leader, advanced to the signal. Whatever followed was past control now. Best to provide it a layer of validity minimally. Mayweather completed fixing his mitts and resumed springing, practicing strikes with amplified actions. But the acted elements appeared empty now. The display, a slim cover over increasing doubt. Final opportunity to withdraw honorably, veteran, he proposed. Tone set to travel. No dishonor in admitting mismatch. The phrases were vacant. A concluding effort to restore the expected flow. Youthful winner, commanding senior icon humbled. But the venue's vibe had shifted past his capacity to lead. The tale no longer his to direct. Norris stayed quiet, balanced, prepared. His stillness wasn't inactive, but engaged. Like water's surface instants before a pebble disrupts it. Like the calm preceding thunder. Stored energy held, concentrated, awaiting release. Don't claim omission of alert. Mayweather lifted shoulders. A concluding display of daring. Then he signaled the timer sharply. Sound it. The signal rang keen and final in the expectant quiet, a lone distinct note that spread through the venue, indicating the point when anticipation became fact. Mayweather acted immediately, expert senses assuming despite the display character of the meeting. He moved leftward, setting space, forming positions. He proceeded with his distinctive elegance, feet scarcely contacting the surface, torso swaying steadily, hands set ideally in his protective form. This wasn't the amplified display of earlier, but the refined core of his skill, the mechanical excellence that had rendered him invincible for years. Norris rotated calmly to follow but avoided rushing. His action was thrifty, limited, sufficient to hold Mayweather in sight to sustain best placement without excess effort. There was no haste in his advance, no concern over Mayweather's greater velocity or youthfulness, just total attendance in each fraction as it developed. Advanced Texas Ranger, Mayweather provoked, sending a probe that intentionally missed gauging range. Response rhythm. Display those film actions. The audience paused collectively as the pair circled. The difference in approach is instantly clear and captivating. Mayweather full of smooth action and velocity, Norris full of held strength and steadiness. Two completely separate views of battle. Two unique periods of combat insight encircling under the harsh beams. In the prime area, Tony signaled gradually, a seasoned competitor identifying what few could completely value. Floyd yet misses it, he whispered. He assumes a boxing contest, right? His associate inquired, uncertainty clear. No, Tony answered, tone soft with insight with the knowledge of one who'd invested years in battle disciplines. He's receiving instruction. He simply ignores it yet. Mayweather, maybe irritated by Norris's lack of advance, sent a series of probes, yet not maximum strength, but swift, exact, expert. A display of his famed hand velocity, strikes that came with stunning rapidity, 5 keen hits in under 2 seconds. To the audience's hurt astonishment, Norris avoided each with faint head shifts, not the amplified swaying and dodging of a boxer, but minimal capable adjustments just enough to cause each hit to fail by fractions. There was a nearly numerical accuracy to his dodges, a battle geometry so polished it seemed simple. Whoa, Mayweather stated, true astonishment in his tone, not worried yet, but the initial recognition that his predictions might require change, senior yet holds reflexes. He sent another series, this with greater purpose. Probe, straight, curve, a traditional pattern delivered with top-tier velocity and method. Again, Norris dodged, not by withdrawing or shielding, but by existing exactly where Mayweather's mitts missed. No excess action, no alarm, no work past precisely needed. His frame acted with smooth unity, not as distinct sections, but as one harmonized unit reacting instantly to danger. A whisper circulated the audience, beginning near the ring where the most informed sat, then extending out. This wasn't anticipated. The expected imbalance youthful winner versus senior icon wasn't happening. Instead, they observed something odder, more intriguing. Mayweather's mechanical excellence, meeting a separate form of command, a separate method to the basic issue of battle. Planning to respond? Mayweather questioned, circling afresh, readjusting his method. Or evade all evening? Norris offered nothing, but his gaze stayed on Mayweather's, never flickered, never shifted. There was exchange in that view, though not verbal. The wordless transfer of details between fighters that went beyond speech, that communicated directly via basic human senses. Fine then, Mayweather lifted shoulders, a motion of planned indifference that didn't fully hide his increasing concentration. Then he delivered his initial earnest series, the type that had dismantled title holders during his unbeaten path. A probe to obscure, a direct to injure, a left curve to conclude, 3 strikes in under a second with the velocity and accuracy that had rendered Mayweather the top protective fighter in boxing records. 3 strikes that contacted only atmosphere. Norris had merely shifted, not dramatically, not theatrically, just capably, interpreting Mayweather's aims before full display. His frame reacted not to the strikes, which were too rapid for standard response, but to the faint indicators preceding, the tiny changes in mass and aim that signaled Mayweather's assault to one with the background to notice. The audience inhaled sharply, a shared breath that appeared to extract air from the venue. Mayweather blinked, briefly puzzled by a result his assurance hadn't permitted. His features tightened faintly. Expert honor involved now where display had dominated prior. Fortunate, he whispered, more self-directed than to Norris or audience. Then he advanced with fresh intent, yet controlled, yet managed, but with true purpose. Now this exceeded display or act. This was an expert competitor addressing an unforeseen test to his dominance. Probe, straight, curve, rising hit. A traditional series delivered with top-tier velocity, each strike transitioning to next with fluid accuracy. Norris avoided the probe, stopped the straight with his arm, lowered under the curve, and moved aside the rising hit. Each protective action merged smoothly into next. Not individual skills, but one continuous reply to Mayweather's attack. Then, initially, he responded. It wasn't a strike or boot. It was a basic palm push to Mayweather's torso. Not given with overwhelming force, but with exact rhythm and location. Just sufficient energy to interrupt Mayweather's equilibrium and form distance to convey ability without harm aim. The push contacted with numerical accuracy, locating the precise spot where Mayweather's form was briefly exposed. During his series, Mayweather staggered rear half a step before stabilizing. Expert equilibrium re-establishing command nearly instantly, but his gaze expanded faintly. True astonishment showing on a features that seldom displayed real feeling during battle. For maybe the initial time in his expert path, something occurred in the ring that fell entirely outside his broad background. The audience burst. Detecting a change in the meeting's flow, what had started as possible ridicule had altered into something something genuine, unforeseen, engaging, not stage or show, but reality developing live. Informed you, Tony stated near the ring, contentment clear in his manner. He settled back, limbs crossed over torso. The confirmation of a seasoned who identified what most couldn't. Chuck avoided Floyd's game. He arrived to instruct one. And in that instant, as Mayweather readjusted his pose with fresh caution in his gaze, as Norris resumed his balanced composure without festivity or conceit, as the audience shouted with value for something they detected, but couldn't completely express, the actual character of the meeting clarified for those able to perceive. This exceeded youth against years. This exceeded boxing against martial arts. This even exceeded victory or loss. This concerned conceit meeting insight, about display-facing essence, about the gap between battling to validate to others and acting from firm self-awareness. And as the pair readied to proceed, that insight spread through the venue like a hidden flow, altering what might have been simple amusement into something nearing insight. Mayweather readjusted his pose, his features moving from arrogant entertainer to concentrated expert. The shift was faint but clear to those familiar with boxing. The mild narrowing of gaze, the firming of his shield, the heightened strain in his back, his feet placed at ideal spacing, mass balanced exactly between, the result of endless sessions honing basics. This exceeded a display for him. This now involved honor. The venue beams reflected off his moist shoulders as he circled, each advance exact and calculated. The jewel-covered TBE mouth protector gleamed shortly as he drew air deeply via nose, balancing self, drawing on the automatic recall and battle smarts that had guided him through 50 expert matches without loss. Fine, he stated, tone reduced so only Norris heard, the acted part of his character briefly aside. So you retain some actions. Let's discover how you manage actual stress. The phrases weren't for the audience or lenses. This was competitor to competitor now, an expert recognition that starting predictions were incorrect. Mayweather's gaze had altered, the disdain substituted by concentration, the display yielding to skill. He proceeded with intent now, blocking the ring with the strategic excellence that had rendered him iconic. Each advance computed, aimed to restrict Norris's choices to form positions favoring his strengths. His probes arrived quicker, keener, not fully strong but with evident aim. No longer acting, Mayweather now applied his skill with expert gravity. Floyd's turning earnest, Tony whispered near the ring. Expert value clear in his manner about time. But he yet misses what he's handling. Truly, Mayweather approached the meeting as a title match with supreme assurance in his better velocity, rhythm, and method. But a basic error existed in his evaluation. He brought boxing, however excellent, to a clash with something ancient, something including boxing but unrestricted by its regulations or beliefs. Norris modified accordingly, his action turning more smooth but equally capable. He avoided some strikes, stopped others, always staying balanced, always even. There was something captivating about the difference. Mayweather's hands flashing with blurring velocity, Norris replying with actions that appeared nearly thoughtful in their accuracy. The audience observed in silent interest. This wasn't the disgrace of a senior icon they anticipated, nor the simple display of Mayweather's dominance. This was something distinct, fully a real trade between two experts. A conversation via the old tongue of battle. You're fairly swift for a veteran, Mayweather recognized, true esteem entering his tone. Despite self, his gaze showed astonishment when another series missed cleanly. But velocity isn't all. There was fact in those phrases, though maybe not as Mayweather meant. In his realm, The realm of expert boxing velocity was a key trait, one of the main elements of achievement. But in the wider realm of battle that Norris occupied, velocity was only one aspect among several vital but not supreme, useful but not final. Mayweather delivered a rapid series at the body, the type of assault that bypassed responses and merely overpowered via amount and speed. 6 strikes in under 2 seconds, each delivered with manual accuracy, the result of endless sessions of practice and polish. This was the series that had shattered title holders' resolve, that had driven Olympic winners back to the cords. But Norris didn't act as predicted. He didn't attempt to dodge each strike separately, a useless job against Mayweather's hand velocity. Instead, he performed a feint quarter rotation, positioning his frame just sufficient to redirect the main assault while keeping his equilibrium and spot. It was a thrift of action that indicated years of background, to a profound grasp of physical dynamics and energy saving. Lenses flashed across the venue, eager to record the instant. Online platforms were already bursting, segments circulating widely, broadcasters and battle experts working to describe what they viewed. The apparently impossible case of a man in his 80s countering one of the top boxers ever. As Mayweather readjusted, Norris replied initially with true aim, a brief, keen elbow hit that contacted Mayweather on the arm as he withdrew. Not a harming strike, but a mechanically ideal one given with rhythm that caused several boxing instructors near the ring to signal in expert value. It was a declaration more than assault, a show that guarding and attacking weren't distinct groups but stages on a range of reply. Mayweather grimaced faintly, turning his arm. The hit hadn't pained, but it had contacted cleanly, something few expert competitors had achieved against him lately. That's the way, including some of that kung fu elements. There was a note of grievance in his manner, but also fresh caution, a recognition that he handled something beyond his broad but focused background. It's not kung fu, arrived a tone from near the ring. James Toney stood now, unable to hold back the seasoned competitor's value for mechanical detail, surpassing viewer manners. It's Tang Soo Do in American Open style. Learn your background, Floyd. A wave of chuckles spread nearby audience, pressure easing briefly at the sudden input. Several signaled agreement. Martial arts experts identifying the difference that would escape most casual viewers. Mayweather gave Toney an annoyed look, then refocused on Norris, who stayed expressionless, unaffected by the trade. The senior's respiration stayed constant, his gaze distinct and concentrated, his pose even and prepared. No excess energy in reply, no focus spent on anything except the direct fact of the meeting. Whatever it is, Mayweather whispered, readjusting his pose with expert control. This remains boxing. The declaration was more self than for Norris or audience, a confirmation of the structure where he excelled, the area where his command was unquestioned. He advanced afresh, this time with a more calculated method, testing probes, fakes, the mechanical excellence that had confused numerous winners during his unbeaten path. Each action computed, aimed to form openings, to gauge responses, to collect info that could be used later in the trade. This was Mayweather at peak. Not merely physically talented, but strategically excellent. A strategy player in mitts, Norris replied similarly, his guarding turning more engaged now. He redirected rather than just dodged, guiding Mayweather's energy instead of merely evading it. His hands acted with surprising velocity for his years, intercepting strikes before full extension, disrupting series before momentum built. Not the automatic velocity of youth, but the predictive rhythm of vast background knowing a hit's location before arrival. The audience was completely involved. Now the starting novelty yielding to true value for the ability shown. This wasn't the imbalance many predicted. Senior icon overwhelmed by contemporary winner. It was a captivating clash of methods, periods, and battle views. Didn't predict this, did you? Toney shouted to Mayweather during a short pause, unable to resist commenting on the development. The seasoned competitor's contentment clear not in viewing Mayweather tested, but in observing the confirmation of something profounder, something about true command that went beyond years and particular method. Mayweather offered no verbal reply, but his features tightened more. He retreated, reevaluating, then advanced with fresh resolve. There was something nearly personal in his strength now. Not fury precisely, but the injured honor of a winner facing sudden opposition, the mental shift of one whose beliefs had been overturned. He delivered a scorching 3-strike series probe to obscure, straight to injure, curve to end, followed by a torso hit aimed to strain Norris's senior muscles and breathing. It was manual ideal, performed with the velocity and accuracy that had rendered him iconic, that had gained him vast wealth and worldwide recognition. Norris dodged the initial 2 strikes, redirected the third, and then in an action that elicited inhalations from the informed near the ring, advanced inside the torso hit with surprising rapidity. For a short instant, the pair were torso to torso, and in that instant, Norris performed a feint hip shift that sent Mayweather staggering back unbalanced initially in the meeting. It wasn't a showy action, nothing film-like about it, nothing for highlights or previews, but to the skilled view it was expert, an ideal use of rhythm and advantage, of grasping physical dynamics and equilibrium points, the type of skill that couldn't come from recordings or texts that only emerged from years of actual use and polish. The audience inhaled, then burst in applause. It wasn't a fall, wasn't even a major hit, but it was a distinct message. The senior wasn't merely enduring. He was directing the trades on his conditions. The flow had altered fully from what Mayweather had predicted when issuing his provocation. Mayweather restored equilibrium swiftly, expertise overriding astonishment. His steps automatically adjusted, mass shifting, balance center, dropping to re-establish steadiness. But something altered in his gaze. The initial trace of true worry, the awareness that he handled something exceeding his predictions. Fortunate action, he stated, but the daring in his tone had emptied. The phrases lacking the belief of his prior provocations. It was the instinctive reply of a winner unused to being outsmarted. An automatic rejection of what his frame and senses indicated. Norris merely resumed his prepared spot, serene and balanced as always. No festivity of the effective reply, no engaging the audience, no recognition that anything meaningful happened. Just the identical concentrated existence that had marked him from entering the ring in the broadcaster's area. The expert host had regained poise, though their manner had altered fully from the meeting's start. What we're observing here, one started, tone quiet with true esteem, is something really remarkable. Mayweather's hand velocity and protective excellence are iconic, but Norris is countering them with motion thrift and rhythm that indicates years of advanced practice. It's not merely bodily, his partner added. Consider the mental side. Mayweather entered expecting a simple display, opportunity to display his dominance. That outlook has been fully interrupted, and now he's adjusting live to a test he didn't predict. Truly, Mayweather advanced afresh, but with greater care now. His strikes stayed incredibly swift, mechanically ideal, but a fresh computation behind them, a steam absent before. He no longer aimed to disgrace or control. He was involved in a real trade with a peer expert. Testing and tested back, the timer examined his timepiece, unsure on duration for this unplanned display. It had exceeded expectations, both in length and exchange quality. The occasion leader made a rotating motion with finger. Allow continuation. Certain instants surpassed timetables and plans. Certain chances were too uncommon and precious to cut for timing. For almost 2 minutes, the pair sustained their sudden routine, Mayweather assaulting with all the ability that had kept him unbeaten, Norris guarding and sometimes replying with actions indicating years of controlled work. There was a purity to the trade now, a removal of pretense and act, to show the core of battle at peak. What started as ridicule was altering before the audience's view into something nearing shared esteem. Mayweather's starting disdain had yielded to expert concentration, and now even that evolved into something nearing value. Visible in the signal he provided after Norris dodged a especially smart series, in the faint grin of value that shortly crossed his features when a reply was performed with ideal rhythm. "Decent, senior," he stated during another close. True value in his tone now. The phrases lacking the superiority of his prior provocations. Decent indeed. Norris merely kept his concentration, neither recognizing the praise nor replying. For him, this wasn't about confirmation or approval. It was merely about existing in the instant, about showing years of practice via this sudden meeting. James Toney bent to his associate, gaze fixed on the ring. "Notice that?" Chuck's respiration steady. Floyd's beginning to sense years. But Chuck, he's eternal. And truly, while Mayweather stayed in outstanding shape beyond most at half his years, the continued effort showed in his mildly heavier respiration. The tiny delay in readjust after series. It wasn't exhaustion conventionally. Mayweather could sustain this for 12 title segments if required, but it was the faint cost of continued peak work, of constantly operating at human limit. Norris, conversely, seemed identical to entering the ring, serene, managed, respiring steadily via nose. His motion thrift meant each trade cost less. Each guard needed fewer changes. Each reply came from readiness rather than force. It was the gap between one performing a tool with frantic mechanical excellence and one whose command reached where the tool appeared self-performing. The audience detected it also. The starting thrill yielded to something profounder. Not mere value for show, but awareness of something genuine and uncommon. This wasn't simple amusement. It was a show of principles going beyond the particular setting of boxing or martial arts that indicated wider facts about command, control, and the link between youth and background. Mayweather, detecting the momentum change, chose to restore command. It wasn't aware computation as much as natural reply, the competitor's version of returning to known area when tested. He delivered his characteristic series, a stunning strike sequence that had defeated world winners, given now with earnest aim rather than display limit. Probe straight curve rising hit torso hit, hook 6 strikes in under 2 seconds, each transitioning to next with fluid accuracy, each aiming different attack path to overwhelm guards. It was the series that had gained him wealth, that had placed him in boxing legacy, that showed the height of his mechanical excellence. What followed would be viewed millions of times online soon, examined by battle specialists and martial arts experts globally, debated in training spots and centers worldwide. Norris not only dodged the full series, dodging, redirecting, stopping with such capability that Mayweather's assault appeared to flow around rather than through, but replied with an action so unforeseen it immobilized Mayweather. Not the showy rotating boot of film renown, but a faint sweep that seized the boxer's front foot as mass shifted, paired with a palm push to torso that sent clear indicators without injury. The rhythm was flawless, the performance perfect, the product not of response but of prediction, of interpreting aim before full action. It was the bodily form of the idea that true command isn't faster response but earlier perception, about viewing fact with such distinctness that reply becomes nearly preventive. Mayweather staggered rear, almost losing footing fully. He stabilized on the cords, true shock showing on his features initially. Not ache or dread. Mayweather had encountered too much in his path to fear a non-harming hit, but pure direct astonishment. In 50 expert matches, in thousands of practice meetings, in a life committed to boxing command, he had never felt anything similar. The audience burst, thousands standing in sudden value of what viewed. Devices raised further, online already bursting with segments and notes. "Did you observe?" Resounded the venue, viewers turning in disbelief in shared awareness that they viewed something landmark and unforeseen. And yet Chuck Norris's features unchanged. No boasting, no engaging audience, just identical concentrated existence, identical readiness, identical command that defined his full path. For him, what occurred wasn't remarkable. It was merely the natural result of principles correctly used, of basics performed with accuracy. Not a unique instant, but one stage on a practice range extending years. As Mayweather detached from the cords, something basic altered in the pair's flow. The ridicule gone, substituted by true esteem, and under that, an increasing awareness. This wasn't a senior icon fortunate to endure. This wasn't a film figure relying on fame. This wasn't even an outstanding athlete challenging years. This was command, eternal and indisputable. The form of principles so deeply merged they went beyond bodily limits governing regular performance. And in that awareness instant visible in Mayweather's gaze, as he readjusted pose with fresh modesty, tangible in the audience's honoring quiet between value bursts, something deep communicated without phrases. True ability doesn't age, actual command doesn't diminish, genuine control holds its authority, needing no outside confirmation or protection. The instruction delivered not via disgrace or control, but via simple indisputable fact of action. And as the pair readied to sustain their trade, that instruction echoed the venue, altering what started as show into something nearing revelation. Mayweather circled cautiously now, hands elevated, gaze keen with fresh esteem. The entertainer's grin absent, substituted by concentrated focus of an expert who'd identified real danger. Moisture shone on his brow, his respiration clearly deeper than start. His muscles stayed tight under shining surface, each part ready for sudden action, for the velocity and accuracy defining his path. But something different in his stance now, a faint strain absent before, an awareness that known patterns might yield unpredictable outcomes. The arrogance had vanished, substituted by cautious concentration of A hunter unexpectedly meeting another top predator in area. It assumed controlled. "Fine," he stated, tone low and earnest, for Norris only. "I recognize you, Chuck. I recognize you." There was recognition in those phrases, awareness that this exceeded expectations. The simple display, the humbling of a senior figure, had altered into something distinct fully, something real, something testing, something deserving full expert focus. The audience detected it also. The festive vibe yielded to something more honoring, more valuing. These weren't supporters viewing a show anymore. They were observers to a sudden truth instant. Devices stayed elevated, but purpose altered. No longer expecting to record shame or ridicule, but eager to document something real and uncommon. In the front, James Toney signaled slowly, contentment clear in his aged traits. "There," he whispered to associate. Floyd's finally grasping. Truly, something basic shifted in Mayweather's method. The sparkle and performance absent, substituted by pure expert skill. His gaze stayed on Norris now, examining the senior's action with strength usually for title rivals. Mayweather readjusted and advanced afresh, but altered now with measured esteem he typically for top rivals. His probes probing, strategic, aimed to gauge rather than overpower. The sparkle absent from action, substituted by expert capability. This was Mayweather the mechanic, Mayweather the expert planner, Mayweather the unbeaten winner who'd solved all ring puzzles. Norris replied similarly, his actions adjusted to Mayweather's fresh method. Still thrifty, still exact, but with faint increase in involvement. For nearly 30 seconds they traded mechanical actions at peak. Neither contacting cleanly, both showing command of space and rhythm, the audience observed in quiet value, detecting rare and meaningful, not staged dispute drama, but real trade between experts of different fields, different periods, different battle views. "This is elegant," a longtime boxing instructor whispered near ring, gaze fixed on action. "Observe that stepping from both. Pure skill." Truly, under the surface trade of assaults and guards, a profounder talk occurred, a discussion of placement and position, of mass shift and equilibrium spots, of the shape underlying all bodily conflict. It was a tongue few spectators could read fully, but many sensed the indefinable gap between skill and command, between performing and existing. Then Mayweather, perhaps sensing expectation pressure, the unbeaten winner matched by senior icon, returned briefly to prior method. It wasn't a wear choice as much as natural reply. The fighters returned to known when tested. He delivered a flashing series, the velocity defining his path maximized, aiming to restore control. 6 strikes in under 2 seconds. Probe, straight, curve, rising hit, torso hit, curve, each with manual accuracy, each flowing to next with smooth elegance. It was the series that had shattered world winners' will that had driven Olympic winners to cords in protective forms. Norris interpreted the change instantly. Rather than withdraw from the assault, a natural reply Mayweather counted from countless rivals, he advanced into the assault, not carelessly, not with daring, but with ideal rhythm, with the accuracy from years of practice, from endless hours polishing action until beyond aware thought. He dodged the lead probe, stopped the straight with arm, and then, in an instant, freeze-framed and examined by martial arts learners for years, delivered a reply nobody predicted, least Mayweather. It wasn't a spectacular rotating boot from films. It wasn't even a strong hit to injure or disable. It was a ideally timed ridge hand hit that slipped Mayweather's shield and contacted his jaw, withdrawn at final fraction to avoid damage, but given with sufficient weight to clarify message. I could have concluded here. The hit contacted with mathematical accuracy, finding exact spot where Mayweather's form vulnerable briefly during series. Not strong to pain, but placed where mattered if, with aim. Mayweather immobilized, gaze widening in true shock. The contact to his jaw, a spot protected flawlessly through 50 expert matches, landed with surgeon's precision. It wasn't strike power stunning him. It was placement, rhythm, implicit message. The audience exploded, thousands standing in stunned value. Devices elevated higher. Lenses flashed. Online alerts sounded venue as instant segments spread live. This wasn't simple, unexpected display turn. This was viewing something defying standard grasp of years and capability. My God, Tony inhaled near ring. Expert admiration overriding others. Observed that. Ideal space. Ideal rhythm. Mayweather contacted his jaw automatically, a fresh feeling across features. Modesty. Perhaps initially in expert life, the unbeaten winner faced undeniable proof that his abilities, however splendid, weren't unique. That other command forms existed. Other methods to battle basics that could equal or exceed his focused excellence. Damn, he stated softly, phrase barely heard but by Norris. It wasn't fury or irritation in tone. It wasn't even shame. It was something nearing admiration, the awareness of something real and esteem-worthy. Norris resumed prepared spot, still serene, still concentrated. His respiration stayed managed, his stance even and balanced. Unlike Mayweather, now showing clear exertion, moisture dropping from brow, torso moving faster, the senior seemed nearly reflective in composure. It wasn't Norris not working. Every guard action, every reply needed exact rhythm and performance, but economy to effort, energy saving from years refining action to essentials, removing all unneeded or extra. A fresh rhythm started rippling venue, building fast until filled space. Chuck, chuck, chuck. But unlike prior when insistent now held reverence and value. This wasn't audience calling for conflict or disgrace anymore. This was recognition of transcendent, rare view of command purist. Mayweather, creditably, avoided anger or excuses. Instead, he signaled once, then readjusted pose with expert control. But visible shift in manner, arrogance substituted by sincere esteem, display yielding to real instant involvement. He's acquiring, Tony noted quietly. That's actual Floyd, not persona, not star, the competitor. And he's identifying facing. Truly, something altered in Mayweather's gaze. Shock fading, substituted by strong concentration, by problem-solving smarts making him not merely talented, but tactically excellent. He was readjusting, modifying, applying considerable battle smarts to unforeseen test. For next minute, they sustained trade, but flow fundamentally altered. This exceeded young winner playing senior icon. This was two experts speaking controlled violence tongue, each recognizing other's skill. Mayweather contacted clean probe, first of meeting, and signaled satisfaction. It was mechanical success he valued, contacting cleanly on elusive. Norris took it without reply, then countered with faint block to Mayweather's lead limb, disrupting equilibrium momentarily. Jesus, someone stated near ring. Expert value overriding manners. Chuck's providing masterclass in motion economy. Truly, where Mayweather's method always defined by sparkle and velocity, excellent but sometimes extra, Norris moved like liquid, finding least resistance path. Nothing excess, nothing show, every action clear purpose. Contrast striking and teaching. Both experts. Both showed exceptional ability, but approached battle basics from different foundational views. Mayweather's excellence specialized, polished within boxing parameters. Norris's command broader, more complete, including principles beyond single field. It's like observing two periods conversing. A seasoned battle host noted to partner, Mayweather shows peak modern focus, best at defined abilities. Norris from time when martial arts about principles across settings. Both valid, both command, but basically different views. As unofficial segment neared end, Mayweather delivered one concluding series, not desperation or fury, but almost a steam gesture, offering true ability without pretense or display. Probe, straight, curve, torso hit, rising hit. 5 strikes in under 2 seconds with velocity and accuracy making him icon that gained vast wealth and fame. It was Mayweather purist, stripped persona and act, just skill core. Norris interpreted perfectly. He dodged probe, stopped straight with arm, lowered under curve, And then in action, unexpected drawing inhalations even from boxing experts near ring, replied with technique from another realm fully. Not flashy rotating boot of film fame, but something basic. A faint sweep paired with palm push catching Mayweather unbalanced, sending stumbling rear to cords. It wasn't violent, wasn't to injure or disgrace, but performed with ideal rhythm and accuracy couldn't dismiss as fortunate or random. This was command, pure and plain. Application of principles internalized deeply become instinct automatic expression of years. Disciplined practice. Mayweather stabilized on cords, his outstanding talent allowing near-instant recovery. But expression showed complex emotion mix, shock, esteem, and surprisingly something nearing delight. Not manufactured joy of public character, but true satisfaction of competitor meeting real test where none expected. "Damn, Chuck," he stated loud for front to hear. No pretense or act in tone now. They weren't fabricating about you. It was purest. Recognition offer competitor to competitor, expert to expert, not reluctant esteem or limited admiration, but plain. Awareness of undeniable fact. The audience burst again, value-washing venue in waves. This wasn't reaction to finish or dramatic end, but rarer precious. Shared awareness of authentic command transcending years and prediction. In instant, something basic shifted in venue energy. What started potential ridicule as amusement at senior icon expense altered into nearing revelation. Audience came expecting show. Received education instead, visceral show of principles beyond ring setting. Esteem isn't commanded earned. True command doesn't fade with years, deepens. Real power isn't dominating others. It's commanding self. These weren't abstract anymore. Not philosophical sayings. Made concrete, showable, undeniable via bodily dialogue between ringmen. As timer indicated final seconds of impromptu segment, Mayweather didn't withdraw or safe. Instead, advanced offered gesture rare from him in ring, mitt touch, competitor's recognition of worthy rival, not required by rules or convention in display setting, but offered freely, genuinely. Norris accepted gesture with identical serene dignity, characterizing full evening. No triumph, no audience play. No need external validation of transpired. Final signal rang, indicating encounter end. Sound pierced venue roar, final and distinct, but transpired couldn't contain by standard starts and ends. Something revealed resonating beyond instant, beyond event, beyond individuals. As Mayweather retreated, new esteem in gaze, not calculated public character, but authentic earned. Entered ring expecting give lesson, leaving received one, and reversal true evening victory. Not Norris over Mayweather, not years over youth, not one field over another. Victory truth itself, authentic over artificial, essence over method. Audience rose together, cheers thundering venue, not for win or loss, but rare privilege viewing authentic command transcending years, period, method. James Toney stood near ring, signaling deep contentment. And that, he stated, to none particular. Tone carrying emotions beyond phrases, why avoid belittling icons? Wasn't boasting over Mayweather humbling. Satisfaction deeper. Confirmation principles always believed embodied own path. Awareness that under professional fighting spectacle and business, under promotion and hype, remained truths worth honoring about control, about esteem, about lifetime mastery pursuit. As Mayweather and Norris prepared separate, something unspoken passed. Recognition beyond words, mutual awareness, shared grasp. Entered strangers, different worlds, different periods, different views. Leave connected universal battle tongue at peak. Rare authentic trade between true experts. And connection, deepest lesson, all beneath superficial method differences approach, beneath period field trappings, fundamental mastery principles constant, eternal, universal. Cheers sustained unbroken rolling venue waves. Audience energy transformed fully from spectacle anticipation to genuine unexpected appreciation. Mayweather detached from cords, usual performance momentarily aside. Approached Norris mid-extended, not formality, but genuine esteem gesture. That was began, then gestured head, seemingly lost words. Man unaware. Chuck Norris accepted, offered small signal. Expression stayed serene, but slight softening eyes, instant significance acknowledgement without elaboration need. Appreciate demonstration. Mayweather proceeded, tone carrying hushed venue. Truly learned tonight. Audience reaction strengthened. Applause mixed approval cheers. Wasn't expected ending. Not senior icon humiliation, nor cocky winner embarrassment, but valuable. Genuine growth, mutual esteem moment. Ring host, detecting significance, climbed back chord's mic hand. Ladies, gentlemen, began tone-echoing speakers. Think all viewed truly special tonight. Beyond display entertainment. Audience roared agreement. Event already collected millions. Pediatric facilities America. Host proceeded. But think given equally valuable reminder true mastery appears transcends years period. Mayweather gesture surprising many reached mic. Absent calculated entertainer earlier. Place stood fighter experience profound. Wansei stated tone uncharacteristically modest. Entered tonight thinking knew all fighting, thinking old ways couldn't teach new. Turned Norris. Wrong man enough admit. Audience response, immediate approving cheers, applause, washing ring. Chuck Norris taught real ability doesn't fade, doesn't age. Mayweather proceeded. Just deepens. Extended hand Norris again. Appreciate lesson. Icon. Real. Norris accepted handshake identical serene dignity characterizing full evening presence. When finally voiced, tone measured carried clearly. Greatest power stated isn't dominating others. Mastering self. Simple wisdom words settled venue. Greeted respectful quiet, followed renewed applause. As pair separated, Norris turned ring exit identical unhurried purpose marking entrance. No win festivity, no audience engagement. Just quiet dignity man made point without elaboration need. Mayweather, watching depart, called last. Hey Chuck, ever want train sometime, in real? Norris paused chords, turned back slightest smile hint. Nodded once, neither promised refusal, just offer sincerity acknowledgement. As descended ring access, rhythm began again. Swelling filled venue every corner. Chuck, 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 but time wasn't demand challenge. Pure appreciation. Something authentic, timeless recognition world often flash spectacle dominated. James Toney Rose Norris passed. Still have, Chuck, stated tone, thick, genuine feeling. Showed real. Norris clasped hand briefly. Just doing always done, James, nothing special. But venue everyone knew different. Witnessed wasn't unexpected bodily trade. Collision views, visual piece nature, true command versus dominance, essence versus method. Humility versus conceit. Next day video hundreds millions views. Hosts analyze every action, every subtlety trade. Some focus technical. Norris counters precision, movement capability. Others psychological. Mayweather approach transformation. Rare genuine humility glimpse man known bold assurance. But arena those felt energy change witnessed directly. Story simpler, profound. Seen conceit confronted not anger matching ego but quiet capability. Watched flash youth speed encounter deeper enduring. Witnessed esteem earned demanded. World increasingly noise over signal, flash over bass. Chuck Norris delivered masterclass quiet excellence power. Reminder true strength often speaks softly, carries ultimate authority. Next, 2 more amazing stories waiting. Click image want, watch, take there. Enjoyed video? Sure subscribe. Mean lot.